Hey everybody, it's your Uncle Bear. So I was talking to somebody the other day and it came up in conversation about an old regulation. I think it's still on the books actually, where truck drivers, if you come upon an accident, even if you're not involved in it, if you come upon an accident, you're the first one there before any first responders, you're supposed to stop and give aid where, render aid where possible. And I got to thinking about it. I thought back to, when COVID first started, and there's a lot of us out there, Of course, my first thing I want to say is this. Everybody was bitching and screaming that they couldn't find a place to shower and they couldn't eat anywhere. I never had any problems showering. I never had any problems eating. My hats went off to the truck stop workers. There were instances where the truck stop only had a fast food place and they didn't want people walking up to the drive-through window, which is understandable because they might get hit by a car. But if you called that fast food place and placed an order and you went up there with the money or what, they bring your stuff out to you, and they bring you your change and everything else. I mean, they do the transaction right in the street, right on the sidewalk out in front of the place. They didn't have any problems doing. I never had any problem finding food or showers. So anyway, that being said, when that whole thing started and the whole country was out there, shouting that, truck drivers are the heroes and they're going to save us all and they're keeping the supply chain intact and everything. I just kind of nodded and grinned, and I told a couple people back then, I said, yeah, today, I said, you give it a couple months after this panic is over, I said, we're going to go back to getting the finger 3 times a day. And I was absolutely right. And they still cut us off every day now, and the whole enchilada. We're just back to status quo. Now, that being said, why on God's green earth would any truck driver want to stop and render aid to these people that flip us off every day, that cut us off? If I'm leaving a safety cushion in front of me and the vehicle in front of me going down the road, they can't wait to close that cushion. Why do I give a shit if that person lives or dies? I told that to a Connecticut state trooper once. He said that we're required to have white sheets on our bunk in case we need to rip up that sheet to use as bandages. And if it's a colored sheet, then the dye would infect the wound. To which I told that Connecticut state cop, I said, why do you think I'm going to rip up a perfectly good sheet that's mine to use as bandages for a total stranger in an accident I wasn't even in? But here's the thing for the general public to know. You treat us this way. I was a Navy hospital corpsman. I am the guy you want to respond to an accident that you're in if you're injured, because I'll be the one that'll be able to keep you alive until paramedics arrive. I have that training behind me. But when you treat truck drivers the way you do, why would we render aid to you? It's beyond me. I probably will, just because that's the type of human being that I am. I will probably stop. And that's another thing. The general public, the truck drivers ask for you to help us on certain issues by calling your congressmen and senators and the Department of Transportation at the federal level when certain regulations come to pass, like the 14-hour rule. The 14-hour rule, I'm up against the clock every day. And if you're in an accident, again, I've only got a certain number of hours in a day. I mean, I can't juggle my logbooks anymore to make way, you know, to make up time to stop and help you. So why would I want to do that? I've got a living to make here. This is my business. So why am I going to want to stop and help somebody when I'm on a clock, a strict clock, an electronic clock now. And when I asked for everybody to help us, to call their legislators and say, hey, don't do that to them, nobody called. And now we have electronic logbooks. And now we have a 14-hour clock that we're up against every single day. Because apparently we're children and we can't decide when to go to bed, right? Unreal. Be safe out there, everybody. Talk to you later.